Hello, everyone. Today we have Shelly. She is currently with First Source Bank. She has over 11 years of experience. Today she's going to be talking about the debt to wealth money management. If you have any questions throughout this, if you would like to drop them in the chat, at the end, Shelly is going to try to answer some of your questions the best that she can. And if she's not able to answer them on this call, she is going to be giving out her information so you can get in touch with her later. So Shelly, I'm going to take my video off and the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you so much. Like she said, Shelly Babcock, private banker with First Source Bank, and I'm excited to be a part of this. It's great to be able to share some information that I give to a lot of my current families and individuals, whether they're working and making strong incomes or just getting started, but maybe they feel financially stretched or stuck. You're not alone, and I'm going to try and see if we can help with today's session about turning your income into real stability options and some long-term freedom. Our agenda will be understanding some debt and credit, building savings and emergency funds, basics of investing, cash flow management, and introduction to IRAs and Roths. So it's not about how much you make, it's about what you do with it. Where are you on your financial journey? Most people in this room didn't grow up talking about money, especially not cash flow, retirement, or investing. Are you living paycheck to paycheck, even with a high income? Do you know where your money goes every month? Are you one layoff or slowdown away from financial stress? This journey is about being proactive, not perfect. The road from debt to wealth is paved with proactive and intentional decisions. This is about using money as a tool and not a burden. Let's talk about debt in a more nuanced way, especially when you're in a position to leverage credit strategically. Secured debt, like real estate or auto loans, brokerage accounts, has collateral backing to it, often offering better rates but putting assets at risk. Unsecured debts like credit cards or medical bills carry higher interest rates because there's no fallback for the lender. Even those significant assets need to weigh whether unsecured debt is worth carrying or if reallocation of resources could serve better. Not all debt is bad. Some forms of debt can be tools to build wealth or protect liquidity. Real estate debt allows you to preserve capital while acquiring and appreciating asset. Low interest margin loans against your brokerage accounts can provide liquidity without triggering capital gains. And student loans can be a self-investment that lead to higher incomes for your future. Consumer discretionary debt. This is a type of debt that erodes wealth, including high interest credit cards and unsecured personal loans. Even for high net worth individuals, falling into the trap of financial lifestyle inflation, like luxury cars or vacations on credit, can create hidden stress on a future cash flow. Prioritizing paying this debt down quickly and monitoring spending habits can help benefit anybody with intentionality. Don't shame yourself for debt, but don't ignore it. Awareness is definitely the first step. So, there are some debt elimination strategies that focus on optimization and efficiency. The debt snowball. It's very common. This method targets smallest balances first. It's especially helpful for clients who value momentum and behavioral wins, similar to how a fitness progress reinforces discipline. Even if you could save slightly more using the avalanche method, the psychological benefit of seeing a paid off account can't be understated. Whereas a debt avalanche prioritizes debt with the highest interest rate, saving with the most money long term. This approach aligns well with clients who are data driven or financially disciplined and are less emotionally impacted by balance size. I typically recommend the avalanche when debt is structured and not overwhelming. There's a cash flow available to overfund without anxiety, and there's a strong desire to minimize interest drag, so the amount of interest that they're paying over the entire time. If you, again, go right back to that snowball effect where you just take one payment and you apply that to the next one, and then you take all of those payments and apply that to the next card, that is the snowball effect, because you're just building a bigger snowball until you get your debt paid off. Both are great ways to take care of debt. It just depends on how you personally will want to structure your debt in order to take care of it. You may not have bad debt, but you may have expensive or inefficient debt. Using tools like a home equity line of credit as a way to bridge liquidity and not take long-term solution to bridge liquidity, not long-term solutions, refinancing or restructuring debt to take advantage of rate spreads. Okay, so using a home equity to be able to take your debt, consolidating it to stretch it out to afford the liquidity or to create cash in your monthly budget is another great way for you to get out of some of those high interest rates that you might be experiencing with a credit card. This is also great for just reducing the amount of interest, again, because of high interest rate credit cards or high interest rate personal loans from some of the loan places out there. Home equities are also favored because of the ability to use the tax benefit on your personal taxes, writing off the interest on your taxes. 0% transfer offers on credit cards come up quite a bit when people are looking at ways to reduce interest or to get out of debt. When they are used carefully, they can be a tool if you're planning to pay that debt off within the time frame that is allowed on that 0%. I always like to make sure that my clients are very aware that there's usually a balance transfer fee of an upfront percentage that erodes about 3 months worth of the interest savings upfront. So anytime you have a 0% for 15 months, just realize that's probably more like the equivalent of 12 months of 0% interest. And then can you structure the payment and be disciplined to pay that debt off in the next 12 months? If you have more than $5,000 in credit card debt, I recommend looking at just doing a debt consolidation loan or a fixed ended loan, something that has an end date to it. Ultimately, you will have more success on getting out of debt versus rolling those interest rates over to one card to the next, and taking an inquiry every time you do it. For credit score management, even clients who don't need credit, a healthy score maintains financial flexibility. Keep utilization under 10%. Rotate cards with zero balances. Don't close aged accounts unnecessarily. Just because you're not using the card doesn't mean you need to close it. If you can't keep them where they're under 10% utilization, most people don't, try to definitely keep it under 50%. That's usually the trigger that starts to affect your credit score. If you find that you're getting yourself up over that 50% threshold, see what it takes to pay it back down under that 50% and then start chipping away at it month over month. Remember, credit cards are supposed to be for short-term debt, something that you budget over a few months, not something that you carry for long-term. The longer you keep it, the more you pay. Any savings in a credit card that you might have had up front from a store are eroded away in the first 2 to 3 months, if not sooner, on a credit card. Credit strategy is about leverage, not just borrowing. If you are in a pay down or pay off strategy and tempted to reuse a paid off credit card, remove the temptation. Cut the card up, delete it from apps, freeze it or lock the card. Don't close it, just keep it out of reach. This isn't about punishment, it's about preserving your progress. A lot of times you will be able to save yourself the anguish if you do cut that card up and put a freeze on it. Because even if you get the opportunity to, I just could use my card for this, if you don't have it at your fingertips, by the time you order a card, have it mailed, and receive it, that purchase might not seem as important or necessary. Some warning signs to watch for when you are using credit and you're not wondering if you're like in a place where you should be. If you're only making your minimum payments on your credit cards, if it's not easy to bump that payment up to 2 times or 3 times, that might be something that you want to look at. Your credit utilization is regularly over that 30% threshold, and you're now using new debt to consistently pay off old debt. So rolling those balances from one card to the next. If you avoid checking your bank account because of credit card statements because you're worried about the balances that are on them, groan when you open your app, it might be a good time to start looking at what's happening with your cash flow and get something put together to help yourself. Unexpected expenses can cause financial panic, even with a high income. So most people are one car repair, one medical emergency away from financial disaster because they have not saved. And those are the things that we should be protecting your assets, but also protecting your leverage for. The earlier you catch that financial red flag, the easier and cheaper it'll be for you to be able to fix it. So cash flow, I know I keep saying that. What is it? That's your take home pay. That's the money that goes into your checking account and then out of your checking account to pay for your bills and your spending. Fixed assets or fixed expenses are the same every month. They're your mortgage, your car payment, the electrical bill, insurance, and things like that. Or, variable expenses would also include groceries, gas, and some utilities. Those are the things that you need to have your life work. You have mortgage, car, gas, groceries, electric, water, internet, cell phone. There's a list of things that you have to have just to make your everyday work. Those are things that you should always have built into your budget. And then anything beyond that would be considered your expendable expense or expendable cash. You can't measure what you don't, you can't manage what you don't measure, is what we're basically trying to say. So when was the last time that you actually sat down and wrote your budget? Not just looked at your spending, scrolled through the app just to see how much money you had left in your account, but actually digested where those dollars went. All the different streaming apps, all the different little nickel and dimes here and there, the swiping your card at a vending machine or in a store for a pack of gum, or running in and getting everybody a drink and a candy or something at a gas station. Budgeting doesn't have to be hard. You just have to find out where you are first and what behaviors it will take to get you there. Using a 50-30-20 rule is a great starting point. 50% of your income that you have coming in each month should be for your needs. It's housing, utilities, food, and transportation. So that's all the things for your car. Your 30% should be set up for wants. I don't want you to penalize yourself for having a budget. So I want you to go out dining out and entertainment and vacations. We want you to have a life. Budgeting doesn't have to be punishment. 20% for savings and debt repayment. If you can keep certain things extra under that 20%, that's great. We just want you to be able to spend with confidence. Modern budgeting tools and apps make this easier than ever. Most banks have a money manager built in and will help you categorize your spending based on the type of spending that it is. If you're a spreadsheet lover, Excel has a number of personal budget templates available with all the calculations you could ever want. Or a quick search online or using AI, and you can build a worksheet for creating a budget that you can print off and use pen and paper. Sometimes I find this method most illuminating and most effective when you're going through bank statements with a client, one line at a time, and helping them be more aware of what they spend their money on. I've had countless of meetings with my clients, sitting with them, and they start listing everything off. But when you really put it down on pen and paper and you add it up, and then they remember something else, and then you have to add that in, and then they remember they get their coffee every morning on the way to work, and that has to be added in too. Those are the things that really show people where their money's going and where they might be able to cut back if they have a goal in mind. And it could be they just want to pay off one credit card, or maybe it's they just want to put more money in savings or start looking at their retirement. You could always do the envelope method as well. This is about working with physical cash, which is a lot harder to do in today's day and age. So I've had a few clients set up multiple checking accounts where they have renamed them in their app for car payment or car expenses, house payment, house expenses, and they have one debit card assigned to the account called spending cash. This is about breaking that budget down into bite-sized pieces and moving the money into those separate envelopes or accounts that are earmarked for those expenses. If spending is a weakness, I know how easy it is to click buy now on Amazon. Then this could be a starting point for getting those behaviors in line, and will set you up for success. Margin. Margin is that money you get to use on Amazon. It's the leftover money after all the expenses. It's where the freedom is built. Your goal is to create margin, extra money that you can put towards savings or debt. And automation can always help make it stick. Start by automating your savings by paying yourself first before anything else. Cut back on emotional or convenient spending, like food delivery or those impulse buys. Use bank or credit card alerts to bring awareness about your habits. Getting that notification every time you swipe your debit card or your credit card could be enough to make you not want to do it as much. Margin lets you absorb emergencies, invest for the future, or take a break if needed. No margin equals no options. Even 5, 10, 50, $100 a month of margin creates momentum. All adds up. Your emergency fund is your safety net. Like I said, about 40 to 50% of people do not have an emergency savings set up today. And when they have an emergency come up, they do. They lean to those credit cards, they lean to a debt instrument, or they start to beg borrow from anybody and everybody they can just to try and figure out a way to get ends met. Aim for 3 to 6 months of necessary expenses in a separate savings account. Start with getting to little bite-sized pieces and building up to $1,000, and then build towards 1 month's worth of savings, then 3 months, and so on and so forth. Emergency funds give you that peace of mind. Best kept in a savings account. These are not monies that you're thinking, oh, I want to invest this, or why am I not getting a better interest rate? These are specifically there just to be for those emergencies. And avoid touching it for non-emergencies. And label that account, if you have to, as do not touch. Investing. Why start now? Compound interest means your money earns interest and then that interest earns interest. So when your money is making money, and then you're making money on that money. The earlier you start saving or investing, the less money you need to contribute long term. Even small amounts invested regularly can grow into significant wealth over time. Waiting even 5 to 10 years can mean needing to invest double or triple the amount to catch up. Don't get caught thinking you need a big lump sum to start. Start with consistency and not size. This chart shows you that if you start at the age of 25 and you are putting in $1,000, that you will, no matter what, end up with quite a bit more. I think it's almost double more than what somebody who waited 10 years and started at the age of 35 would have done if they would have started saving. It's always best to start early than starting big. Consistency is always the key. When you're thinking about retirement accounts, there's a lot of questions of like, what type of account should I do? What are the accounts out there? So we are going to go over a few very simple information about the different types. 401k is your employer-sponsored retirement plan. Sometimes they're called a 403b, or they have a number of different names. But those are the ones that are done through your employer. Contributions are usually pre-tax, and many companies offer a match. Roth IRAs are great for long-term, tax-free growth, especially powerful when you're starting young. Contribution limits are $23,000 a year in a 401k with a catch-up for age 50 plus, and $7,000 a year in your IRA or Roth. Even if you don't max out, contributing something consistently builds the habit and the balance. And don't forget that company match, because that's free money. At a minimum, if you can contribute just enough to get that match, do it. The IRA versus the Roth IRA. What is the difference? Both are retirement accounts that you set up yourself outside of an employer plan. IRA, or your individual retirement account, is good if you want more control or if you don't have a 401k. Traditional IRA contributions are often tax deductible now, which means you lower your taxable income, but you pay on taxes later on the withdrawals. Anything you take out of a traditional or a 401k plan, including the growth, is taxed as worked income. This means it's taxed like your W-2 income today. Roth IRA. Man, this thing is just jumping. Your Roth IRA is great for long-term tax-free growth. So you pay taxes now, so money that's already in savings or checking or out of the net portion of your paycheck. But withdrawals are tax-free in retirement, including growth. This means you could have $10,000 in a Roth IRA, it grows to $50,000, and you decide that you need to take $25,000 out for a new roof. And Uncle Sam doesn't get a penny in taxes. Roth IRAs do have some income limits, and in 2025, phase out begins at $146,000 for single filers and $236,000 for married filing jointly. You can contribute up to $7,000 a year or $8,000 if you are age 50 and over, and you get to choose based on whether you expect your tax rate to be higher now or in retirement. So if you're under the Roth income limits and expect your income to rise, the Roth is often the better deal. And don't worry about picking the perfect account. Just worry about getting started. and being consistent. There are some other tips and tricks where if your company is offering a match in your 401k, but they also offer a Roth, I've had people where they will put their portion into the Roth and then the company is required to match into the traditional 401k plan. It's a great way to still get that bonus money, but also save in two different types of accounts for more flexibility in your later years when you expect your taxes to change or when you might need large sums of money during retirement. What are the different types of things that go into those? So we have the building blocks of what is in any of those accounts. So if you think about your 401k or your Roth or your IRA, they are the vehicles, but what goes in them? So that's the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds, the ETFs. Those are all the things that we hear about when you hear the stock market changing or when you hear about people's portfolios going up or down. So stocks are ownership in companies. They're usually higher risk and usually higher long-term returns. This would be buying specifically one company like Meta, Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, Microsoft. Those are the things that you hear in the news when you hear, oh, so-and-so just hit some magical ceiling in the stock market, those kind of stocks. Bonds are loans, technically. So you're going to be owning the debt of those companies or to the government in US treasuries. So you might think bonds and you're going to think of, yes, US treasuries. They usually want a little bit of both in your portfolios because they balance each other out. But they're not all created equal. Some will work in the same direction as stocks, like your corporate debts. They usually go right underneath the other. So if the company's stock is going up, they're likely to pay their debt, then that's going to also go up. If their stock goes down because they're not having a very good year, then they're less likely to pay their debt. You're going to see that also go down. But then you do have some that work in the opposite direction of stocks, like our US treasuries. You'll usually see this when stocks are going down or people start to flock out of the stock market. They will go to the US treasuries because they find them as that safe and secure spot to go. And likewise, when stocks start to rise, you'll see that people will get back into the stock bandwagon and they will watch as the treasuries will go down. This is why diversification is so important. Not having all your eggs in one basket will allow you to ride those ebbs and flows and have something that's probably moving in the right direction for you. Mutual funds and ETFs are also a really great way for you to be able to diversify without having to sit and pick and choose what stocks should I invest in. It creates a basket of investments. They offer diversification with one purchase. They're often a smart, simple place to start when you are looking at the options available in your employer-sponsored plans even. You will notice that they'll say like Target Retirement Fund or something like Vanguard Fund, or you will find it'll say the word fund in there, and it would usually have multiple different companies built into that basket. When you open up a prospectus from one of those funds, it should list you the top concentrations of what that fund is invested in. Based on if it's a balanced fund or a growth heavy fund or small cap, mid cap, those terminologies, looking at those companies will also give you an idea of what they are looking for. And most of today's tools and retirement plans will have a risk meter built into those to kind of give you an idea of where those funds might fall on a risk tolerance. It's a lot of information here. Many plans also have the option to rebalance annually, quarterly, and this ensures that you don't end up with too much of one or the other in your basket by keeping your portfolio mix like 80% stocks, 20% bonds, or 60-40 if you're getting older on target and those same thresholds. You don't want to end up overweighted in your bonds if you're trying to be on an 80-20 split, or on a 60-40, if your stocks start to really take off, all of a sudden you look at your portfolio and you're sitting at 85% stocks, it could open you up to risk. So rebalancing can also help make sure that you're mitigating your risk that you would also be subject to. This gives you the opportunity to also just take the guesswork out of investing and let the portfolio do the work for you and keep you on target. They put these together based on your timeline, comfort, risk, and goals. These are all things that you should speak with your banker and your financial advisor with as a part of the whole financial picture. You're not trying to beat the market. I know everybody talks about, oh, I made such and such amount this year. You're just trying to build wealth steadily so that you can sleep well at night. Getting back to diversification. So that's spreading your money across different types of investments. Why? Because different assets react differently to the same economic conditions. Like I previously said, with stocks versus bonds and US Treasuries. A diversified portfolio reduces the risks of one bad investment sinking your whole plan. Your risk tolerance is how comfortable you are seeing your balances going up and down. The right portfolio balances your growth potential with peace of mind. Younger investors can usually afford a little more risk as they have time to let the market recoup, rebound, or rebuild before they will need those funds. Where your near retirees might shift to a more conservative approach as they will be needing to use those funds to supplement or fund their retirement years. So if you're looking at your buckets in your life and you have your checking account as your main bucket where all your money goes in that pays your bills. And you have to keep refilling that bucket because there's a hole in the bottom of that bucket. You don't want to put all of your money that you're getting ready to use in retirement into a super risky investment that can go up and down day in and day out when you think, I'm going to have to refill the bucket tomorrow. So you have these time frames you have built in for your plan, whether it's 1 to 3 years, 5 to 7 years, or 7+ years, or 10+ years. You might widen those up a little bit. That way your money at the end has time to grow. And that is where you would put the things that can fluctuate a little more, where the things you're going to need today, tomorrow, or next year are going to be a little more conservative, maybe a little more of that confirmed dollars are going to be there, amounts that are available out there for you. Risk is very personal, and the best portfolio is the one that you can stick with even when the market dips. Don't overthink it. Start with what you can, even if it's small. Do incremental increases each year. Some clients will do a 1 to 2 increase when they get their raise, so they can still get more in their paycheck, but they also start saving more, boosting that win-win mentality. Set up those automatic contributions to savings or investment accounts so you don't have to think about it. Move the funds on payday automatically to savings so it's already out of the checking account when you look at your balances. If you find that you can save more, Up it after a few months and allow yourself to adjust to the budget changes. Setting up separate accounts from your employer plans. Use dollar cost averaging. Investing a consistent amount regularly just smooths out those market ups and downs. So that is if you decide that you want to start setting something up outside of a Roth, outside of your employer plan, just a regular old fashioned, I want to just invest and I want to start somewhere. That would be what this would probably be more entailing. Just opening up an account, whether it's with your bank or on Fidelity or Schwab, and putting money into that account and having that get invested. You still have all of those options and opportunities out there. It's just a matter of putting those funds in. Even if you're buying it in bite-sized pieces, you will always find that over time, time is your biggest friend when it comes to investing. Over time, you will find that the market usually goes up overall. You just have to have time and patience. Schedule your once a year review and make sure you check your plans. That is with your financial advisor, with your banker. It's imperative that everybody is on the same page with you. We don't expect you to be a master at what you're doing, like at financial literacy. We don't expect you to be a master at investing or to understand what tools are available at the bank for debt consolidation even. We want you to reach out to us. We want you to take that time to help us help you and educate you so that we can take care of those needs. We really, truly want to help you to build your wealth. It's better to start imperfectly than to wait for the perfect time. That will never come. Even if you feel like you do not have any questions or needs at the bank, it might be a good idea just to sit down with your banker and say, hey, I know I haven't really needed you, but maybe we could look at this and see if I'm just as efficient with everything that I have going on, because this is the result that I want to get to. These are my financial dreams, and I want to see how it's going to get me there. Maybe it's not retiring at 52 and you're planning to work until you're 97, like myself, because I just love it. It everybody's plan is different, and we don't know how to help you if we don't get the opportunity to sit down and do those things with you. Momentum matters more than mastery. Build the habit, then fine-tune that strategy. This is why there are professionals out there to guide you. So we've talked a little bit about managing debt and how it can build that space to build wealth, how budgeting will give you that clarity and control and the confidence over your spending. Emergency savings are essential. Don't set yourself up on a great plan without having that buffer that could just destroy all of your great work. Even if you're a high earner, you have to build those things in. And the earlier you start saving for retirement, the easier the journey will become. You don't have to be an expert, just a consistent one. Many of my clients did all the hard work just putting the money into their savings or into their retirement. And that's when they came to me to help them plan the rest. And small changes can make a big difference when they're repeated consistently, just like going to the gym and building muscles. So I would like to invite anybody that has any questions in the chat. Or if you want to do any kind of a one-on-one or anything, you can always reach out to me. I do have the market share is a pot, like they'll put out a video about once a week about the market, about certain things. Could be as simple as titling your assets, making sure that your accounts have the proper beneficiaries associated with it and how those beneficiaries work. Or if you have an account in a trust or your house is in a trust, how should you go about handling those types of things and getting a little more into the weeds about some very important information. They put out wealth of information from our wealth advisory team here, and anybody can have access to that and subscribe. It's part of what we do in the community here at First Source, is just wanting to be the trusted source for information to take care of our clients and the community that we serve. So, are there tools? Oh, hang on. Or accounts banks offer that most people underutilize? Yeah, so the people that work here, I feel like we don't get utilized enough. We work here day in and day out. We get to see all the ins and outs and how to structure things. That is one part of it. Plus, we can then show you where a lot of the tools that we do provide to our clients, whether it's a budgeting tool, whether it's the understanding your credit score tools online, or finding out that there is an entire tab of information available to you on our websites that are just learning tidbits of information, where we become almost like a banking encyclopedia option for you. Thoughts about using 401k to pay off high interest debt versus a loan. So if you're thinking about taking those funds out of your 401k in a permanent way, this would be a last resort for a number of reasons. You are essentially stealing from your future self when you take it out of your 401k. There are options sometimes built into your employer plans where they will let you do a loan against your 401k, and there is interest that is assigned to that. Those are great for people who have no other option or flexibility to be able to get to that. But again, it's still a payment. It comes out of your paycheck. It's still something that affects your monthly cash flow over and over. But the nice thing about those, the interest that you're paying on them do go back to yourself. If you were to think about using a 401k, and especially if you're under 59 and a half, you also have to remember that that's coming out as basically like you worked and earned that income. You could end up pushing yourself into a new tax bracket. If you're under 59 and a half, you have the 10% additional penalty rule because you're taking it out before you're allowed to. 401ks have a lot of restrictions, and there could be some pretty heavy, extensive taxes on those dollars just for trying to take something out to pay off a high interest debt. I would be more inclined to look at your assets that you currently have. Maybe it's not your house, maybe you have a paid off car, or looking at different types of personal loans and seeing if there's a way to stretch that into something that's just more feasible for your budget. Are there safe ways to leverage credit without putting yourself in a worse position? So kind of going back, I have a lot of people that have had a lot of great success using their largest asset, which is their home. So if you're a homeowner and you have a mortgage and you're under usually that 80% threshold of the loan to value. So if you have a house, it's 100,000, you can borrow on average. Most places offer up to 80%. So 80,000 would be your lendable amount. Then you subtract the mortgage that you had. So let's say you had a 50,000. So $50,000 mortgage from that number leaves you with $30,000 of equity available as your lendable amount. That number is what you would want to work within. And then seeing how flexible where you're applying for your home equity can be to help you taking care of that. Different banks have different structures for those products. So some of them are interest only. Some of them are based on 15-year payoff schedules or a 30-year. You can stretch it out to almost match your current existing mortgage, keeping those payments really low, usually at a lower interest rate than what you would be paying on those credit cards. But over time, you could end up amounting to more. Something that usually comes up when people are asking, which way is the best way? It really boils down to budget. Budget will always win. It doesn't matter how much interest you're actually paying if you can't afford the payment where it's at. If you can afford the payment, but it means you might have to pay a little more in interest over the long term, that might be what you have to do, simply because that's what makes sense for you. What circumstances do you think it's okay to take a loan out of your 401k? I would still say last resort. You would have to have a serious financial catastrophe occurring where there was no other option, no lending option, no cash flow option, no assistance programs can help you. You've worked with numerous different people trying to figure out different ways. And that truly boils down to the last option, but understanding all of the ramifications that come with it. If you're taking out $10,000 from an IRA, you might only see 6,000 of it because the other 4 just went to taxes and penalties. And is that going to be what needs to happen to give you that peace of mind? Not to mention, how is that going to affect your tax bracket next year? Absolutely.
Well, I would just like to thank Shelly for taking the time and spending her lunch with us talking about debt and wealth. Again, if you have any questions, you are welcome to take a photo of her information that is on the screen. If you do not, you are also welcome to reach out to me and I can pass that information along as well. We hope to see everybody at our open house September 23rd from 7 to 8:30. And also we have our educational symposium in October that is going to be the 15th and 16th at the Schaumburg Marriott in Chicago. So we hope to see everyone there and thank everyone for spending your lunch with us today.
And thank you so much for all the wonderful support. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good day, guys.